thank you for tuning into our debate. My name is Hazel Benavides, and I live in Irvine, California, and work at a clinic as a behavior therapist. Today we will be discussing two sides of a very important dilemma: the right to exercise personal liberties versus the need for habilitation. But first, let me introduce you to the team. To start off, we have Breanna. She is an ABA therapist and a researcher for a private company in San Francisco. Hey, Breanna. We also have Tierney. She teaches young children at Montessori School in Asheville, North Carolina. Hey, Tierney. Danielle lives in Des Moines, Iowa, and works in a clinic that provides ABA services to children with autism. Hey, Danielle. Ranjini works as a special educator in Dubai at a center for individuals with disabilities. She also used to specialize in cerebral palsy and is now pursuing a master's in ABA. Hey, Ranjini.
Hi, Hazel.
Hey, so to start off, Breanna and Tierney will be arguing the side of the need for habilitation overrides the right to exercise personal liberties. Danielle and Ranjini will be arguing the side of the right to exercise personal liberties is necessary for effective and ethical treatment. I will be in charge of the visual representations throughout the debate with help from Breanna, who will be pulling up visuals. Our debate will be informal in style, similar to a conversation you would have with an acquaintance or a colleague at work. As future behavior analysts, this topic is of importance to us because we may encounter patients who are in need of support in making difficult choices in life. On the other hand, legal issues may arise when the client's right to choice is narrowed in certain cases.
Thanks for the introduction, Hazel. This is an important issue to be discussed. As services become more popular and the types of services available increase. As board-certified behavior analysts, it is important to follow compliance code to ensure that the treatment we are providing is always effective, but the choice of treatment intervention should not always be given. Habilitation involves a skill development to a level of proper functioning, making an individual fit or capable to function in some manner. The need for habilitation can be defined as the absence of a skill deficit, either from lack of practice, an reduction of the skill, or inability to perform the skill. In Section 300.4 of the IDEA Act, it illustrates that services should always be available to individuals with special needs. It also emphasizes on the importance of effective treatment being implemented. In compliance with the IDEA Act, individuals with special needs should be granted services for any life skill area that is in deficit or in order to receive the same rights as those without special needs. In the U.S. Code 42, it is the congressional decision to maximize individuals with special needs potential and state that their safety and support is always provided. Individuals with special needs require guided services to make decisions to ensure their potential and quality of life is maximized. Without services, individuals with special needs have the opportunity to make life decisions that may impede or limit their quality of life. Allowing them to do so without services would be unethical. Under the Ethical Compliance Codes of Behavior Analysts, we hold the responsibility to do no harm to our clients.
Thank you, Breanna. So if you could just pull up visual 1, I'll give you a moment to do that. Thank you. So for visual 1, you guys can see in this study done by Akseth and colleagues in 2015, it shows that there's a significance in reducing parent stress when treatment has been introduced. So in the light gray, we have before treatment, and then the dark gray is going to be after treatment. So on the left-hand side, you guys can see that mothers showed a significant decrease in the parent stress index, and then also fathers showed a significant decrease. So overall, we see that before that early intensive behavioral intervention is very important and also impacts the family overall, not just the child.
Hazel, you make a great point about parents being positively affected following their child's involvement in treatment. Parents' stress level is clearly important for families' quality of life. However, the client is the child themselves and not the parents. So while the parent is having lower stress due to their child's treatment, the child should be able to make choices within the treatment that they are receiving. Individuals with disabilities deserve the right to make their own choices. These choices can include choice of tasks to be completed, schedule of tasks, reinforcers, as well as what to eat or what activities to complete. Often these choices are made for clients with disabilities. In an article by Bannerman in 1990, they stated that habilitation may lead to skill development, but decisions involved in the process of habilitation may not reflect the choices of the client. In regards to the ethical code, section 2.05 of the BACB states the rights and prerogatives of clients. Individuals should be informed of their rights, and their consent should be sought while making decisions in their life regarding treatment. Also, section 4.02 emphasizes involving the client in planning and obtaining consent. The client should be involved in their treatment to the extent of their capabilities. This can include being involved in treatment planning as well as being part of the IEP. So while parents may have decreased stress level due to the involvement of their child in treatment, clients that are involved and have choices regarding their treatment may feel more in control of their life and therefore have decreased stress themselves.
Danielle, I agree that stress level of the client is vital, not just the parent, it matters to the client as well. And as you said, it's true that the client may be more than capable of having some say in their treatment. I think, though, that we also need to remember that clients may not always be making the choices that are best for their well-being or even for their intervention outcomes. If we control habilitation, it provides skills that can aid in further education, career, and life skills that they might not be able to learn otherwise. Through this, the individual learns many skills, and they also become more independent and able to succeed in the real world. This also includes an abundance of social skills that help individuals engage appropriately in social groups that they wouldn't learn otherwise. While choices may be given, too many choices can result in the client engaging in behaviors that wouldn't be helpful in attaining these life skills. Freedom of choice in these situations may result in them using their leisure time to engage in excessive stereotyping, napping, and even self-interest behaviors, which is obviously not good. Therefore, the consequences of their choices may not only be unproductive, but they can actually be detrimental to their well-being. If we control some of these intervention methods and make decisions for the client's best interests with the help of parents, educators, or anybody else involved in the child's life, it doesn't have to be unethical. We need to focus on including the client to the extent of their abilities, as you said, but also intervening when we need to and when the child is not able to make the decisions for themselves.
Tierney, you're right with your contention that freedom of choice may lead to unproductive choices. But this preoccupation with normalizing individuals with ASD has led to treatments that have sometimes flouted ethical considerations. Dawson 2000, in an article, Misbehavior of Behaviorists, has listed 15 arguments describing the ethical challenges arising out of trying to normalize individuals with autism. She states that societies and scientists have been making judgments about the kind of people and behaviors that can be deemed acceptable and those that need to be aggressively treated. Differences in people have been considered defects or flaws which require treatment. These different people include left-handed people, homosexuals, among others. Sometimes I know stereotypy is present among our individuals with ASD, but if it doesn't interfere with learning, why don't we just let them be? The differences or defects as they are perceived have led to societal and scientific assumptions about the degree of freedom and integrity that people with disability deserve. Everybody strives for freedom. There's joy in making choices, however simple, harmless, or unproductive they may be. You and I like making choices. These choices are important to all of us, even to individuals with disabilities. The moot question here is whether those serving our people with ASD allow them these liberties, or is the best interest of their clients an excuse to deny them the right to choose. In an effort to make individuals with ASD as typical as possible, proponents of ABA often use its principles and strategies to eliminate odd behaviors which are not harmful, may not interfere with learning, but which may look odd. These behaviors may be useful and necessary to the individual with ASD. Some of these behaviors may include rocking, flapping. New behaviors are imposed upon, which include pointing, joint attention, appropriate eye gaze, which could be stressful and painful. When powerful and effective ABA therapy is applied to clients who are not in a position to consent, the ethical issue is how significant is this behavior change and how will it impact the quality of life for the client, especially if the aim is to treat behaviors to recover the child with ASD, making him indistinguishable from his typical peers.
Ranjini, I love your points about making choices. And as I like to make choices just as much as another person, I agree that it is important for sometimes choices to be available. I've also read the Dawson's article of misbehavior of behaviors and understand your point of service normalizing behaviors. And though I agree that not all behaviors need to be normalized, such as flapping or swaying, in the cases of extreme behaviors, not intervening would cause more harm than the planned intervention. In these cases, intervention should take place immediately once the behavior is defined. No baseline should be needed. The informed consent should be completed by the individual's guardian if the individual is of not legal or cognitive ability. This is necessary for the safety of the client, and the individuals override personal liberties of the client in these cases. I went to work with an individual that was 13 years old on the autism spectrum and engaged in self-injurious behavior. He would bang his head on the wall to the point he had a bump on his forehead. In this situation, it was necessary for an immediate intervention. Since the client was 13 years old, his mother gave consent to implement treatment immediately. In cases like this, intervention is necessary for the individual's safety and quality of life.
Breanna, I totally agree that the safety and quality of life of all individuals should be considered. Individuals do also have the right to least restrictive and effective treatment, and providing a choice to a client could result in more effective results. Freedom of choice has been known to have better outcomes. Kilu, in a study in 1999, conducted a study comparing choice versus no choice options during spelling tasks for individuals with disabilities. Results concluded that preferred activities were more of a factor to ensure task engagement. In that study, choice is related to motivation to complete the task as well. Offering choice of work tasks or allowing the individuals to create their own schedule using a list of tasks to be completed could enhance the outcome of intervention by increasing motivation to complete that task. This could enhance the effective treatments that individuals all have the right to.
Great, thank you, Danielle. So let me just pull up that visual really quick. Breanna, do you have it for us? Thank you. So as you guys can see, like Danielle mentioned, Kailu and his colleagues in 1999 gave us this example of one participant. And as you can see, if we're taking a look at the percentage of seconds with on-task behavior, and the graph is going to be every 10 seconds on your far left. So we start off with choice of non-preferred activity, and you can see that it's only about 90 seconds. And then when given a choice of a preferred activity, obviously it's preferred, so it's going to be a little bit higher. But the most interesting part comes when the researchers are looking at sessions 16 through 20, which is depicted by the bottom. So from session 16 to section 20, the participant is engaging in no choice, and it's still preferred, but it's much higher, which is at 100 seconds. And also at the far right, no choice preferred is also much higher. So as you can see, this study overall showed that choice can increase an individual's self-esteem and communication skills. Breanna, do we have our other visual that you can pull up? Thank you. So in addition, we see that in a study done by Dyer and colleagues in 1990, choice doesn't only work with older children, but also with younger children with severe problems. So we have here 3 children, Mary, George, and Lori, and it's going to be percentage of intervals with problem behavior. So as you can see, when each child was given choice, you can see that the overall problem behavior depicted by the line is going to decrease, and also aggressive behavior, which is depicted by the bar graph, is also decreased. When the child was given no choice, you can clearly see that overall problem behavior significantly increases, and also aggressive behavior significantly increases. So this is a really great study that shows that importance of giving choices to individuals with special needs.
Hazel, I agree. I've read the studies as well, and you can clearly see that if you give the children some choices and task preference, that the behaviors do decrease. So I think that we agree that in the right circumstances, individuals may be able to share preferences in order to achieve the most effective treatment. However, it's not always a possibility depending on the client, the severity of the disorder, and ultimately the choices that they're choosing to make or that they're being offered. So let's remember that in these studies, the client is given a very controlled set of choices. The behavior analyst has already picked choices that they can choose from, so they're not just making their own decisions completely. They're to pick from the reinforcer or task choice that the therapist provides. So while the choice is being given, one could also argue that this is not true freedom of choice completely. Individuals with disabilities need to learn critical, independent living skills, and their chances of empowerment could get compromised if they choose not to learn, which is often a difficult task for some individuals. So it's important that we have parents, guardians, and educators that are there to aid in deciding what choices may be unacceptable for a client if necessary. And if we look at section 2.09 in the ethics code, it states that the client has the right to effective treatment. So we want to make sure that these choices aren't intervening with that. Depending on the client's tendencies and severity of behavioral issues, too many personal liberties may result in ineffective treatment, which presents an ethical dilemma. For example, if we allow individuals to choose whether or not they want to partake in certain tasks that are helpful to their treatment, or allow them a free
To add that?
Yeah, I can't hear you.
Assist individuals with disabilities to acquire and maintain life skills and social. Okay. It seems like we have a little bit of lost connection with Ranjini, but we're just gonna pull it through. So, service providers have a duty to assist individuals with disabilities to acquire and maintain life skills to cope with and sex. Now, drawn to receive as will give of them environment for assuring 3 fundamental conditions for adequate treatment when satisfied, ensuring a humane, legal, and physical environment qualified staff and numbers sufficient to administer adequate treatment, and individualized treatment plans. Humane, psychological, and physical environment included freedom from unnecessary medication, which is very important, physical restraint and isolation, experiment, research, or unwanted treatment procedures such as lobotomy or shock treatment, guarantees of clothing, exercise, and religious work, and therapeutic labor, and adequate food and medical care, which is essential. A case for individuals with disabilities to rightfully be able to access the training that would help them live independently. This would impact quality of life, increase independence, which in turn will also result in improved self-esteem. I would also like to add that in the case of Youngberg and Romeo, Nicholas Romeo was involuntarily committed by his mother to a Pennsylvania state institution after his mother could no longer manage his difficult behaviors. However, unfortunately, after becoming concerned about Nicholas's injuries, his mother filed an action suit in federal district court. It turns out that he was being restrained for many hours throughout the day and repeatedly injured at the facility. In the end, the Supreme Court agreed that involuntary committed individuals also have the right to safe and confinement conditions, freedom from unreasonable body restraints, and habilitation they reasonably require. In the end, the state also decided to close this institution in 1986 and other institutions like it, which was significant improvements in the state when it comes to individuals with special needs and receiving habilitation. Danielle, do you have anything you want to comment on that?
Thanks, Hazel. Thanks for introducing those cases. And while I think that you all have made great points about the importance of habilitation, it should include educating the individual about their personal rights. This can include education about rights they have in treatment as well as in school. Educating individuals can include informing clients about when their IEP meetings are occurring, right to effective treatment, and basic rights included in all aspects of life. Education could also provide individuals information about how to know when their rights are violated and how to respond if this occurs. As VCBAs, it is our right to protect and advocate for the individual's rights. All individuals have the same right to personal liberties, and they should be provided the choice of balancing the need for habilitation with their own right to personal liberties.
It sounds like we're having a little bit of sound problems.
Sorry about that. I forgot my mic. Danielle, I definitely agree that education is totally necessary. Clients should be fully included and informed throughout the treatment. Balance is vital, and clients should always be protected and aware of their rights. Our job as behavior analysts, as we said, is to ensure the client is receiving the most effective treatment with the least restrictive measures. So the ethical codes must be followed. However, we also need to stay consistently aware of the client's ability to make a certain decision. If choices intervene with the safety, as Breanna pointed out in one of her examples, and best interest of the individual, I think it's important for behavior analysts to reflect on if these choices are within the boundaries of the client's cognitive ability. It may be that the individuals do not have the necessary cognitive needs in their treatment and future success. And as we said before, this could result in detrimental consequences for the client. As long as the choice is treatment and will only enhance their intervention, then they can definitely be given. So for example, thinking such as first then boards or break time choice charts may result in positive effects of an individual making their own choice, but in a controlled manner. So I think we can all agree that there's definitely some balance that needs to take place.
Awesome, great, thanks Tierney. And then Breanna, if you could just pull up the last visual for this debate.
1 minute, please. There you go.
Thank you. So as you guys can see, Tierney brings up a really great point, which is using a first then or using visual boards for children to make choices. So this is an example of a choice board. We have different choices, and I apologize for the image doesn't really pull up very nicely. But you can see on the far right at the top, the individual has a choice of playing Play-Doh. They can also listen to music. They can take a walk, when they need to calm down or something like that. They can play with little animals, or they can read a story. So this really guides the individual to more things that are more socially taking a break versus punching a wall or headbanging. You can have the choice of doing that. And they can also participate in the swing. So this is a very choice board for younger children. You could also do this at future BCBAs. You can create something like this for adults. So for example, when we're taking a look at whether people have the right to make their own choices and whether they should. So should we let them eat donuts the entire time? No, right? But they could do something like a choice board where they have vegetables or fruit as an option, and that kind of guides them to a more appropriate choice. So does anybody have any questions?
I have a question. Just give me a minute to stop sharing the screen. My first question is, at what developmental age does one get to determine their treatment?
I think that's a really great question, Breanna, and I think that all children, all individuals should be involved to their best of their abilities. So they should be informed to the best that they will understand. All individuals are different and all cognitive abilities are different, so I don't think that a specific developmental age should be set in stone for this. However, it'll depend on the individual themselves to when they are allowed to be involved in their treatment and make those choices within their intervention.
Anybody else have another question?
Yeah, I agree with you, Danielle. I also wanted to ask, do you think that should habilitation be include educating the individual about their personal rights all the time?
I think so, Tierney. I think it should be done. This can be done within the treatment as well as in the home. Informing individuals about their rights is important so that they can advocate for themselves. How we have to make a beginning somewhere. So
that's a great.
Sorry, I have one more question. What about the cases in which the child refuses treatment? What should we do in those cases?
That's a really great question, because that might happen sometimes. And in cases in which the child refuses treatment, the therapist should then cooperate with the parents and other therapists in order to think of other ways in which the treatment can be implemented in order to gain that child's consent. However, if the child will not consent to any treatment, or if the behavior benefit will only be considered, and the individual's guardian should be informed. That way, the best decision is being made for the client themselves, while keeping the ethical code of doing no harm in mind.
Thank you for answering those questions.
Yeah, thanks everyone. So as you guys can see, as future BCBAs, keeping in mind the ethical code of doing no harm is very important. Where we're taking a look at when we're working with patients, we do have a lot of control over their daily life. For example, we create the schedules for them, we create what behaviors we're going to be working on, and as BCBAs, it's important to keep that patient's, the individual's choices in mind. So throughout the debate, I hope that you guys were able to see that by giving them choices, it can be one way to help them with non-preferred tasks or preferred tasks. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to put them on the discussion, and we're going to be reading those and hopefully reply back to you guys within a reasonable time. Thank you for watching. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.